Books and Fictions, the cozy book club podcast where we talk about the books we're reading, the thoughts we have on them, and anything else that comes up along the way. My name's Morgan.
My name's Desiree. This week we're discussing the book The Housemaid by Freida McFadden.
Yeah, the first thriller we've done on the podcast, I think.
The first, yes.
So very exciting. I read it first. It was recommended to me by my sister-in-law, and I was like, oh yeah, this one's kind of wild, so I recommended it to Desiree.
Yes, and Morgan's read all three already. I've only read the first, but I'm eager to read the second and third.
Yeah, I was on kind of like a thriller cleanse for a while because I wanted to take a step back from the darkness, but this pulled me right back in, and I read all three back to back.
And this movie is kind of a hot topic right now because it's being made into a movie with some pretty high-profile actors. So
yeah,
I think it's a good one.
I got to read it without having any of the actors in mind. I didn't know the casting when I was reading it, but you got to like imagine the characters as they'll be cast. So we have two different perspectives there, which is kind of fun too.
Yes. So this book is a thriller, number one. It follows a girl named Millie who was homeless and was hired by a wealthy family to be their maid. Millie, you find out, was in prison previously, and that's part of the reason why she was selected as the maid, which she was not necessarily aware of. It is a very wild ride.
It is. It's like one of those books you read and you're like, I want to talk to this author. Like, how did she come up with these twists? Sometimes I feel like in thrillers, especially when you've read a lot of them, they're very predictable. I didn't find this predictable.
I didn't find it predictable either. And I think it was, because I was reading people's commentary after I finished it, and I think it's pretty down the middle of people. Either they say they saw it coming or it was completely surprised. So I was definitely in that camp.
Yeah, so was I, which was refreshing.
Yeah.
I feel like I've had like a bad streak of like the thrillers I'd read in this past year, but this was kind of brought me back on the thriller terrain.
Yeah. And it was the first Freida McFadden book I'd read. Was this the first? Okay. Yeah. I was surprised, and it definitely made me curious to read her other books, even besides the series. Because she has written a ton of books.
Yeah, after I read the series, I read The Boyfriend, and that was really good. I didn't like it as much as the series, but I still did really like it.
This is a gripe that for me was very irritating, but this book, apparently Freida McFadden has a deal with Amazon. This book is not available anywhere. It's not available. It's not available on the Nook. It's because I use a Nook. Morgan uses a Kindle. I use a Nook. We're split down the middle there. But it's not available to read on the Nook. You can't get it. You can't get it on Libby. You just can't get it anywhere. The audiobook's not available on Spotify, which that's where I typically, if I'm doing an audiobook, where I'll listen to it because you get the free hours with premium. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I wasn't really aware that was kind of a thing that was happening where authors have deals with Amazon.
Yeah, that's not my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
Especially like with Amazon, of all places. But I mean, good for her. Yeah. I feel like that's like a big accomplishment.
Oh, 100%.
But from the perspective of the reader, that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah. So super interesting. I kind of am curious on, because I hadn't heard of her prior to this, but I'm curious to like her journey to making it to that point where she got that deal. Because people did say that since she's gotten the deal, and us also, I don't know, please do your own research, but people said that she's churning out books super quickly. So I wonder if it's a pretty hefty on the requirement side of what she has to produce, which is interesting.
As an author, she seems interesting. I didn't know anything about her until I was preparing for this episode. And so Freida McFadden, that's like a pen name. And do you know is it a brain surgeon or a brain doctor?
I don't know.
Oh, she's something with the brain, which I'm like, okay, so she's incredibly smart, which makes sense how she's able to like craft a very twisted story that still wraps up nicely at the end. I feel like you have to be really smart to do that. But nobody knows who like apparently the real Freida McFadden is, which like, so in her appearances, she's wearing like a wig and like glasses. It's like a Superman type thing. Because I feel like if you knew her personally, you'd be able to tell. Because I was looking at pictures. You can tell she's wearing a wig. The glasses, which is like a Clark Kent. But I did think that was interesting. I was reading about that on Reddit, and people were like speculating on who the real Freida McFadden might be. But
oh wow,
yeah,
that is super interesting.
No,
I didn't know that part.
Yeah. Well, fun fact.
Do you think that her choice to go that route has anything to do with her career?
Yeah, she's that in interviews, like she didn't want it to compromise like her medical like integrity or like the trust her patients have with her, which I could see like if you're, I don't know if she is a brain surgeon, but if she is, it's like, do you want this like twisted woman operating on your brain?
No, probably not.
I don't know. I think she's probably a wonderful person, but I could see you're already anxious about going in for some brain examination.
Yeah, that's super interesting. But that, I mean, it makes total sense.
I love a good like pen name, like pseudonym type deal where it's like, oh my gosh, like there's like an added layer of mystery. So you've read the book, but there's still mystery. Like who is Freida?
And Freida McFadden is a very unique name combo.
Mm-hmm.
So you can wonder where she pulled that from.
I know.
If there was inspo on it or not. Or if it was just, yeah, interesting.
As always, when we're recording, we're under the assumption that you have read the book if you're listening, so there will be spoilers. So if you're not okay with that, read the book and then come back. But we find out, it's kind of teased throughout the book why Millie was hired. Because Nina, we kind of come to find, doesn't necessarily need a housemaid. Her daughter's in school, she's at home all day, her husband makes all the money. But she brings Millie in regardless. And it turns out, like the big aha moment is that Nina's husband's abusive. And she knows why Millie was in prison, and that's because she killed a guy to defend her friend when she was in college or high school. When she was young.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she was young, she killed somebody who was assaulting her friend. And so Nina is like, oh, maybe she would kill to defend me, but she goes about it a different way because instead of becoming Millie's friend, she becomes her enemy.
To push her to that point.
Because she's like, Nina, we discover, is very smart. So she needs to really manipulate Millie to hate her so she'd be willing to be like the other woman in Nina's relationship and have an affair with Andrew so she could see how Andrew is.
Mm-hmm.
And once she knows how Andrew is, the hope that Nina has is that Millie will kill him. Which leads me to like down the line of questioning like Nina, like that's not a nice thing to do to Millie. Like that's horribly manipulative. It's putting another woman in a dangerous domestic abuse situation, but also she's got a daughter to look out for and she's in a desperate situation I could never imagine myself in. So it's hard. I go back and forth. Like, is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy?
Yeah. And I think that was pretty blatantly questioned too, because Enzo was pushing her and telling her this isn't right. I don't want to do this. Because we find out also that she has a bit of an accomplice in this situation. Enzo, who is the groundsman that they hire to take care of their yard and gardening. And he's not okay with any of it.
No, love Enzo. He is wonderful, but he's definitely tries to be a voice of reason and tries to think of like a better solution. But I think at this point, Nina doesn't think there's any safe solution besides Andrew dying, which I agree. Andrew's nuts.
Yeah, he is beyond nuts, sadistic.
Yeah, that was an understatement.
Scary. When I tell you, I was in shock when it flipped over to the POV of Nina. I like flipped back a page and I'm like, wait, what? That was a trip. And I mean, like you said, Nina was making really hard decisions, and ultimately she has her daughter to look out for, and that was really the main thing. If she didn't have Cecilia, I wouldn't put it past her to kill him herself.
Yeah,
you know, she doesn't have that daughter to need to be there for, but because she also, the fact that she was able to manipulate Andrew and Millie to such an extent, she's also crazy.
And that's like something I was thinking too. I was like, she has this diabolical mind.
Yes.
She could have figured out a way to kill Andrew and get away with it without involving Millie. I just kind of felt bad for Millie.
Yes.
Like everything works out for Millie as good as it can, I guess. Yeah. Like she has to carry that psychological trauma now she's killed two men. Regardless
except for the fact that at the very end, Nina not only manipulated her into the situation, she has now made a referral.
Yeah, that was a little bit. She's intertwining her now in a new domestic situation.
Don't you think that she should have at least discussed with Millie if she was okay with this?
Yeah, like, Millie, do you want to be a hitman? Or, nah. So, yes, I know a guy. But...
That end, I was just like, you're kidding.
Yeah.
I know that it obviously, like, sets up the opportunity for another book, but this is messed up.
Yeah, I think Nina might have a twisted sense of, like, right and wrong. And...
Yeah. This is probably jumping the gun a bit, but do you think we hear about Nina any further? Or yes, no, you know.
Yeah, I hear
know.
Do you think we hear from Nina any further?
I feel like I probably will.
Yeah.
Does she just disappear? Probably not. I think she's too.
Do you want to hear something I really like that's not like, it's like a 5% spoiler. It doesn't, I won't give you many details.
I'll probably forget. I have a horrible memory.
In the third book, Cecilia comes back.
Oh.
Which is like, kind of like, oh, Cecilia.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Because the third book takes place in the future.
Okay.
But yeah, that's like a teeny spoiler, but I really enjoyed seeing that.
Yeah.
Little Cecilia.
Oh, speaking of Cecilia, the whole peanut butter thing, and then finding out that she is allergic to peanut butter.
Yeah.
I was shocked. That man.
He's so scary. And it's like scary to think there are men like that who exist. That's so scary.
Oh my gosh. And God, it's just so scary that he started off with sweeping them off to their feet and being so kind, and they're genuinely taken aback the first time that he pulls this shit.
Yeah.
It did make me very sad. Hearing, like, when it gets to Nina's POV and hearing the real backstory behind her psychiatric hold, and after hearing the POV of Millie, hearing the housewives talking about it, and oh, Nina's crazy and she was in the loony bin and whatever. Gosh, that was very sad.
That was really sad. Like the weaponization of her own child against her. It's like that is just so diabolical. So diabolical. And I feel like I was thinking too about, do you remember who they casted for Andrew in the movie?
Yes. That guy from It Ends With Us.
Oh yeah.
What's his name?
I know the face, not the name. Whoever it is, that's that.
Oh, something Sklenar. Brandon Sklenar.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. I'll never be able to watch anything with him after, because I feel like I'll just hate the actor too much. I'm so bad at separating the role from the actor, and if there's like an unlikable role, I will see him as that for the rest of forever.
Yeah. I'm really nervous to see the movie in the end and what visually we will.
Yeah, I hope it's not too graphic.
Yeah. We'll have to watch the movie, because I think they said it comes out on Christmas every year.
Okay.
Which interesting choice.
Heartwarming holiday film. You'll be on the homework.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that and then come back and talk about how we felt about it, because I'm actually very interested in how that all plays out, because they're filming right now. But I agree, I have a hard time separating the actor and the character.
Yeah.
Especially if I dislike them.
That's like another thing with like Amanda Seyfried. I will just be seeing Sophie from Mamma Mia.
Oh,
Sophie, what are you doing? How'd you get yourself in this mess?
Yeah. I do think that her and what's her name?
Sydney Sweeney?
Yeah, Sydney Sweeney. I do think they're actually such a good pairing.
Yeah, I do. I'm excited to see them together.
A good pairing. I can see it.
When I was reading the book, I didn't have like the fan cast in my head for Millie, but for Nina, the entire time I was thinking Natasha Lyonne. I feel like she fits how she's described.
Natasha Lyonne. Is that she was red curly hair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's like, she was my Nina. I love Amanda Seyfried, so I'm excited to see her be Nina.
Yeah. But
before I knew Natasha.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like a very different vibe from who they ended up going with.
Besides Nina, what were your thoughts on the other characters.
I was surprised by Sydney Sweeney. I don't think she's going to be a bad choice. She just wouldn't have been my choice. I was thinking, I feel like Millie needs to have like a crazier look in their eye.
She's a little glamorous.
Yeah. That's
Glamorous.
that's exactly what I was thinking too. Like I wanted somebody like that felt like a little more rough around the edges. Did you watch You?
Yes.
Who played Love?
Oh my gosh. What's her name?
Is it Pedretti or something?
Yeah.
Something Pedretti.
Yeah. Oh,
That's like
she would
a blonde love Quinn. But we've seen her be like a unhinged character, so I think. But she has like a look in her eye. I'm like, she could kill a man who deserved it.
But I feel like Sydney Sweeney is really kind of on the path of doing characters that people wouldn't necessarily picture her doing, because she just did that movie. It's not out yet, but the movie where was it a woman wrestler or something?
I'm not sure.
She gained a lot of weight for the role, and it was like bulked up a ton for the role.
Nice.
And she did not look like herself. Actually, let me look that up really quick, because
yeah, it would be nice to see her in like those roles where she's kind of like breaking the typecast. And I was watching like a TikTok series that was kind of sad about like women celebrities and actresses, and how like at 25 you're past that prime of like being cast for like the sexy, sultry, like glamorous roles, which like is horrible in so many ways, but kind of makes sense. Like I don't know how old she is. She's younger than us, but not by a ton.
Yeah.
But she's past that 25 prime, perhaps, where it's like, okay, she's gonna start to take on, even though not a speck of her beauty is faded.
No, not at all. So I think she just finished this movie, and she's playing the professional boxer Christy Martin in a biopic. And then this is what she looks like. Very different than.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But very different from her typical role.
And they do describe, like in the book, Millie is pretty, and she has to like dress herself down to not like intimidate during the interview, because she's afraid Nina won't hire her if she feels like she's a threat.
Yeah.
So like I do think she fits in that way, but I just want to see her have the edge that I'm imagining Millie have, which I think she'll be able to execute it well. I just can't picture it now.
Yeah. And kind of like the grittiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am so excited for this movie to come out. I haven't been excited for a movie in a while.
Oh, I'm always excited for movies.
I love that for you. Nothing piques my interest usually. And then a lot of times, like for books to movies, I'm not excited for those because I know I'm going to like the book better. But for some reason, I feel like they're really going to execute the movie well.
I think so too. I think they really will.
And I usually don't have that opinion for like movies based on books.
I don't know if this is like a unpopular opinion or not, but I actually love to watch a movie after I've read a book.
If I can help it, I'll do the reverse. I'll do the movie first.
See, no, I don't like that, because it doesn't give me the opportunity to dream up things in my head.
Yeah. I like just like being able to expand on what you've seen. So I feel like for me, I almost always prefer the book.
Yeah.
So I like to be like, oh, this is a really good movie, and then read the book and be like, oh my gosh, this was like such a good book.
Yeah.
Whereas like the
That's
reverse,
true.
I'm like, I love this book, and then the movie's a letdown.
Yeah.
I can't enjoy the movie, I guess, if I watch the movie second.
Interesting.
For some reason, I feel differently about The Housemaid. I think I like it.
I think it's gonna be really good, and there's a lot of hype, so you hope that they have the resources and like capability to meet that hype, because I think it'll be a big box office moment.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I'm also excited about what the like home is gonna look like.
Oh my gosh.
Because they're obviously very wealthy, and I love just homes in general. I love seeing it. So I'm really curious to see like what they portray their neighborhood as and their home itself. I think that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's gonna be really cool to see. Just like the choices too that they'll have like Nina make with the home design and stuff to see that. I think it'll be reflective of her.
Well, do you remember?
Probably.
Andrew said he's the one who decorated the entire house. He did
skipped by.
He did all of it. before Nina even moved in.
Oh, so be reflecting Andrew.
Yeah, reflecting Andrew. So that's also an interesting tidbit.
Oh, I hate him.
Yeah,
I need to say that louder. I hate him. I don't know if that was picked up.
yeah. I also, do these books touch on Kathleen at all? Or she just,
Kathleen's chapter is closed. She was just kind of like a plot device a little bit. But I think mostly they did it well.
Yeah.
So Kathleen was Andrew's ex-fiance. And her dad, was he the police chief or just a detective?
I think he was like the lead detective. He had authority in some way.
Yeah. I did think it was like a little convenient because he knew who Andrew was to some capacity because his daughter was at one point engaged to him. I don't think he knew the full picture, but he knew he wasn't a cool dude. So after Andrew's death, he let things get brushed under the rug. Whereas, so like there wasn't too big of a probe.
Yeah. That, actually, now that we're talking about this, that part of the book really did seem like super unrealistic.
Yeah, that was like the only part of the book where I'm like, okay, like I wish this wasn't like so tied up neatly with a bow.
Yeah.
Like it was just like
there has to be some messiness.
Yeah.
There's no way that no one in the department is going to be questioning a man who was found in an attic, who pulled his own teeth out and was dead from dehydration.
Yeah.
It also it was in a very nice neighborhood. So not only there had to have been others on the department who were questioning this, but also the people in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. All like the busybody millionaire moms.
There's just no.
We're like, I can't let my kids play outside now.
Yeah, actually, when I read that, I was like,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that was like I think my biggest critique, maybe with the series.
Okay.
Where it's like, okay, I feel like she crafts everything so well. That seemed like
she too quick.
Went back and was like, oh man, I get tying that loose end.
Yeah.
It was like, and then just did like the first thing that came to mind. Yeah. So Kathleen, that's it for her.
Okay.
She just gets like the little device to move the plot along.
But I'd be interested to know what all occurred with Kathleen.
I know. I wonder if they could do like a prequel. That would be so interesting. And like you said, she's churning out books. I feel like if this series continues hitting the hype it does, she'll want to expand on it more.
Yeah. I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
For sure.
And we could even go farther back and do a prequel with Andrew's childhood because we kind of find out he is the way he is because of the way his mother is.
Oh gosh. Her comment at the end. Yeah. Creepy.
Do you remember exactly what she said?
Hold it up.
Refer to the book.
I'll read the end of the book, just like to last page.
Perfect.
Evelyn purses her lips. I always told him, she says, how important dental hygiene is. I told him he had to brush every night. And when he didn't, there would be a punishment. There's always a punishment when you break the rules. What? What is she saying? Evelyn, if you don't take care of your teeth, she continues, then you lose the privilege to have teeth. Evelyn? Andy knew that. He knew that was my rule. She lifts her eyes. When I pulled out one of his baby teeth with pliers, I thought he understood. I stare at her, too afraid to speak, too afraid of the next words that will leave her mouth. And then they finally come. It takes my breath away. It's such a shame, she says, that he never really learned. I'm glad you stepped up and taught him a lesson. My jaw is hanging open as Evelyn makes one last adjustment to her son's white shirt collar. Then she walks out of the funeral home, leaving me behind.
Diabolical.
Diabolical.
Oh.
So Evelyn's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it runs in the family a little bit.
But then you always wonder. The thing is, you guys, it's always a buildup. Like people are, or I guess, each person is a buildup of what they endure, right? So what happened to Evelyn? One evil person who does evil things can make a mark and transcend generations.
It's, wild to think about. And like the nature versus nurture of it all too, where it's like there are so many people who would face the abuse that Andrew faced and never become evil themselves.
So true.
But he must have had just like the right genetic makeup that level of abuse instead of turning him into like a more empathetic person who could like relate to people who went through things like that. It turned him into a perpetrator, which
in a major way.
Yeah, it's just interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who he could have been if maybe he had like that predisposed disposition. Even if he wasn't abused, he'd have been evil.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? When I was reading like on Reddit and forums after reading this book, something I noticed that I thought was kind of interesting is the critique people were giving Freida McFadden on like the writing itself, which for me, when I'm reading a thriller, I'm not looking for a literary masterpiece. I'm looking for the ideas and the plot, and I want my mind to be twisted. I don't really care about the description she's using.
Yeah, I completely agree. If I'm reading a thriller, I am reading at a lightning speed. I might not even notice if there's a grammatical error, and I'm typically fairly critical of grammatical errors.
Yeah.
I don't care. And I don't expect that. I don't expect, like you said, it's not an expectation I have. I'm fully focused on the crazy things that are happening.
Exactly. I feel like a lot of the people like on the forums probably aren't, they Reddit users recommended to them. They're not somebody who enjoys the genre, perhaps.
Yeah.
But like so many of them are like, oh, the writing is so flimsy, all of like this and that. And it's like, that's kind of what, I don't know, not like I'm saying I expect it with a thriller, but when I'm reading a thriller, I'm just not looking for that level of depth personally, which I appreciate that some people are, but for me, that's not like a super interesting criticism of the book.
Yeah.
And that's like the biggest one I can find.
And maybe people are going into this book ready to critique it. I personally don't really go into reading a book ready to critique it. I really want to see what I can take away from it and like go on with my life.
I'm the same way. And sometimes that's why I don't like to go to Reddit after I read something. Because I feel like something about the book community on Reddit and Twitter specifically, those are the two areas where I feel like they read a book to dislike it. Like, yeah, sometimes it feels like that's their goal. I'm like, that's never my goal.
No, that's exhausting.
Yeah. Sometimes it does give me good insight on like the valid critiques of the book.
Yes.
Sometimes it is, like you said, exhausting.
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to talk about the book without it having to be like every little complaint about every little detail. I'd rather talk about the things we enjoyed and then like poke at like any of like the glaring things.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly. Just like when we were talking about earlier on the how neatly it was tied up with Kathleen and the detective guy. That's something I feel like is valuable to talk about, but yeah. We maybe just have a different like intentions when we're reading than others. So,
and I do think it depends on like what book communities you're most involved in.
Yeah.
At the time that we're recording this, it's January 12th. We don't know what the future of TikTok is, but that's where I consume most of my book content. And I'd say like probably like 85% of people who create book content, they do it in a positive light and they're genuinely trying to enjoy, interpret the stories. There are some people who are like, I feel like, I don't know how to put this. They want to read the most popular books to say they didn't like them.
Oh, yeah.
But for the most part, the TikTok book community, I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think, a kinder community than like the Reddit one. Okay, so overall, what did you rate The Housemaid?
Oh, I think I rated it a 4.
I went back and forth. For thriller, I give it a 5. For an overall read, it was like a 4.5. But if I just did it in the lens of like rating it against other thrillers I've read, it's been my favorite thriller in a very long time. And it came off like a 6-month hiatus too.
Ooh.
So through the lens of rating thrillers, it'd be a 5. Through books, 4.5.
I think I did it 4.5 actually. I take it back. I honestly, I really did enjoy it.
Yeah, so did I. I got it for my mom for Christmas.
I don't typically read thrillers, and actually the thrillers that I have read have all been because of Morgan, but I do really enjoy reading them. I think it's nice to take a step away from the other types of books that I read.
Sometimes it's just nice to read something that makes you think like in a superficial way and
Yes.
in a very deep, reflective way.
Oh my gosh.
Like
Exactly.
this made me think, but not in any way that's like impacting my day to day.
Exactly. Yeah. Like a step away from being introspective. Like
Yeah. Sometimes I'm not equipped to introspect too deeply.
Yeah, 100%. No, I really did appreciate that aspect of it, and I really did enjoy the book. And it was such a quick read. I read it over the course of a few days, but that was just because of my what I had going on. I could have read it in a day.
Yeah. No, my sister-in-law recommended this one to me, and I read this stack like in 5 days, I think, just because like I was hooked.
I haven't started book 2 yet, but that was only because I just finished The Housemaid yesterday, and I didn't want to start book 2 and have that kind of scrambled with my thoughts on book 1, but I'm eager to start it for sure.
Yeah, I was definitely following your lead on some of our conversations because I couldn't remember where one ended in the next tapping. And I was, does Desiree know this? And you never brought it up, so I'm keeping my lips up.
Okay, well, I think our plan is I'll read the second and third books, and then we're going to recap both of those in one episode. I think that'll be nice to have that wrapped up in one episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned for that. I'm very excited. That'll probably be the next recording. So be a quick turnaround, hopefully.
So yeah, we'll be back
Yay.
next 2 weeks with the next 2 books.
Yes.
So if you want to keep up, these are the 2 on the docket, and we'll chat then.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.